There's a dangerous new book on the market, and it's coming for your children. Hide your wife, hide your kids. Johnny the Walrus is now out to get your transgender children and convince them to commit suicide, or at least that's what they say. We're going to put that to the test today. I'm Pastor Josh Barnes. This is Jonathan Barnes, and this is the show where we're unashamed to look at political, cultural, social, and even theological issues from a biblical worldview. We do that because Jesus died on the cross. He really did, and he really rose from the dead. We can actually prove that historically. And that proves that the Bible's true because Jesus said so. And that means we can't be right about issues if we disagree with the Bible about them. So that's the lens with which we look at issues and say, are we right or are we wrong? And today we're going to review Matt Walsh's book, Johnny the Walrus, and talk about some of the crazy, crazy nonsense stuff that's being said about it, even by Amazon. This is the #1 best-selling book on Amazon, last I checked. And is going... you can tell that I'm part of that. I'm part of the reason why it's the #1 best-selling book. I like to take credit for that. You're welcome, Matt Walsh. And this is a great book. There's even if you are a big Matt Walsh fan, you might even notice there's little Easter eggs, like a little Matt Walsh as a baby with a beard in one of the pictures there. Anyway,
that'd be the Sweet Baby Gang,
the Sweet Baby Gang little thing. Yeah.
Yes, that's what that is.
But Jonathan, you read the book. What is your initial take on the book for us?
Well, I gotta say, I can't hold back on this because I'm gonna have to deal with this critically. We're gonna go through. We're gonna go through the plot. I think it's pretty well put together. Solid beginning, solid storyline, solid ending. Kind of ties up all the loose ends. You see the character development plays out pretty well. So yeah, not too bad. I thought it was a pretty good book.
So just to be clear, for anyone who's wondering, the book is about a little boy, who has a big imagination, and who actually I might be able to just read it real quick. Johnny's a boy with a big imagination. One day he's a dog, next he's a crustacean. One morning he came downstairs barking and clapping. Wood spoons for tusks and sock fins flapping. I'm Johnny the Walrus, he said with a roar. The wood floors my ocean, the carpet's my shore. But Johnny's mom loves her son's make-believe time. You're Johnny the Walrus till you change your mind, she says. But Johnny's mom's phone said it's not just pretend. Only a bigot would say that. How dare you offend? Mommy was told to take John for a checkup. You'll need to eat worms and put on gray makeup, the doctor said. The worms will give you whiskers, the gray blends you in, and a simple procedure cuts feet into fins. It's gross eating worms, Mom. They're also dang twitchy. Wood spoons kinda hurt, and the makeup it's itchy. Deep down, John's mom knew that something was wrong, but she felt so much pressure, she just went along. The internet people knew just what to do, and Mommy was told to take John to the zoo. When Johnny arrived, the walruses grunted, my boy's a real walrus. His growth was just stunted. The zookeeper thought, what's she talking about? Man, that's just a boy with wood spoons in his mouth. But if I believe that, they'll say I'm phobic, she says. Protecting your son, ma'am, is what's most heroic. At last, Johnny's mom was able to see that Johnny's not what he's pretending to be. Now, Mommy ignores the mean things on her phone, while Johnny pretends he's a bird flying home. The obvious implication is that it's about the transgender agenda, and it's a boy who's pretending to be something that he's not. And when his mother is told by the internet, oh, you have to let him be, you're phobic if you're not saying he actually is a walrus when he's pretending to be a walrus, that it causes this big problem, because now he's got to have surgery to, become a walrus, to be a wall person, and use
walrus.
Yeah. And the wall pronouns, and he's a real walrus, and it calls out and really shows the lunacy of the transgender argument, really. I mean, if there is an argument there, it just shows how ridiculous all of this is. And I think it's an excellent way to do it. And it's not inappropriate for kids. I read this. I let my kids read it. My kids are a little bit older. They're 11, 10, and 8. Well, yeah, 8. She just turned 8. they're a little older, than a cardboard book for kids, but they understood it, and they said, "Was that does that have something to do with the thing in schools where where girls will say that they're boys and use the boys' restroom?" And I said, "Yeah, actually, good catch there. They understood the undertones." Um, Jonathan, do you think that this is dangerous? This book.
Yeah, it's super dangerous. It's very scary. It literally tells you how to hurt a kid. No, it doesn't. Um, it's very much a for kids book, and if you don't want to see the blatant analogy, you don't have to. It can be just a kid's book if you want. But what I like, what it does is it shows it at such an elemental level, right? It breaks it down to make it so easy, and it shows you that there's adults that don't get this. There's a lot of adults that don't understand this, but this is a very easy subject. This is a very easy issue. This is an incredibly winnable issue for Republicans, for anybody who's not buying into the transgender craziness right now, especially amongst kids. It really makes it that simple, and it's so easy. You can make a kid's book out of it. It's that easy. I love
Yeah.
how basic it makes it, and it's really irrefutable when you look into it much at all.
Okay. Yeah. Listen. I mean, girls are girls. Females are females, and
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter if they call themselves a man. They are not because they're
this
female.
was never anything that was controversial before.
Yeah.
It's just brand new.
But then it shows not only the silliness of the whole thing because kids read it and they laugh and say, Psh, "Of course he's not a real walrus." Um, but not only does it show the silliness of the whole thing, it shows how dangerous it is for parents to say, "Oh, my kid is transgender because they said I'm a girl." The boy says I'm a girl. No, no, no. They're pretending. They
Yeah,
don't understand that does saying I'm a girl doesn't make you a girl. But parents then become dumber than their own children and say, "Oh, you said you're a girl, so you are a girl." No, that's not how reality works. And I love
yeah.
I love that Matt Walsh called this out. Um, yeah, so good, so good. And so I had to buy it, even though it was, I'll be honest, a little bit pricey for a cardboard book, um, but worth it, worth
It's
it.
on sale right now. It's price, I think, is $20, and it's now like in the $17 range. So
1750 is what I got it for.
yeah,
So
there
you
you go.
could get a deal. But just to shove it in the left's face to show that this book is top of the charts, that's really the reason I bought it. And to show you, while we did the review, that I am a genuine, actual, verified reader of the book. I even read it on the air to show you that I've read it. Now, let's talk about some people who reviewed this book and called Amazon, asking Amazon to take the book down when they clearly had never read the book, nor had even read, even knew much about Matt Walsh at all, though they claimed that they did. So Amazon had like secret meetings, like emergency meetings over this book. That's causing harm to LGBTQ children. By the way, there is no LGBTQ children. That's a myth. There's no such thing. Children don't have a sexual orientation. Parents might impose that upon them, but they
Right.
don't have one, right? And there's no trans anyone, right? You're either male or female, and that there's no such thing as a trans person. Um, but here is, let me show you this. Let me show you the first video here. This is a woman. This is Amazon scrambling and having a meeting over how terrible this book is that's on their site.
The recommendations that this customer received and that other customers frequently reach out to us about that they're receiving. It's about a book called Johnny the Walrus. And I want to be very clear, the next two are about books. And I saw someone say, "Oh joy, we're going to talk about one of them," because it's been a very traumatic experience for transgender Amazonians and our transgender customers. What I don't want to come out of this is slamming the books team, with a bunch of tickets. They're already aware of this. There are things in the space that are happening. But Johnny the Walrus is a bit of a problematic book. Not a bit. It is. It is not a bit of a problem. It's one hell of a problem. And I would preface this about what the book's about, but the customer we're going to listen to does a great job. So let's go ahead and listen to this customer.
Okay, so they're about to listen to a customer complaint to Amazon. And they're saying this is why this book is such a problem for our. And by the way, the Amazon has shadow banned the book. They moved the book off of out of the children's category. They moved it out where it's not being promoted. It's not showing up in any of the ads or anything like that. And this is one of their reasons why they said this is, this call here is their reason why this is such a dangerous book. Here is the claim. Now, you've already heard, I've read the book to you. I've showed you the pages of the book. We've talked about what it says and what's in the book. Here is what she claims is in the book.
To report a book that you are selling, I just checked your website and the book is still up on there. I hate to tell you, but it says that the book that it is shipped and sold from you, it is by Matt Walsh. It is teaching kids to to bully transgenders, to bully them into committing suicide, the LGBTQIA, especially transgenders. The story is about a kid who likes to pretend he's different things, and one day he pretends he's a walrus, and the community tells him he either has to be a human or he has to be a walrus, or they're going to kill him. He can't be both. He can't pretend anymore. Now, the author, Matt Walsh, just tweeted this yesterday morning at 8:04 a.m.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Jonathan, does the book say you have to be a human or a walrus or we're going to kill you?
It's crazy how many things she said and not one of them was true. Not remotely true.
In the book, the community is saying, let Johnny be. Johnny is a real walrus. Stop anti-walrusium.
Right.
The community is not saying he's got to stop. The only person who is the voice of reason is the guy at the zoo who says, "Dude, that's not a walrus. That's a boy with spoons in his mouth." And he doesn't say, "I'm going to kill you." He says, "You're not a walrus."
She said it's teaching kids to bully transgenders. It says nothing about that, doesn't teach that whatsoever. To bully them into committing suicide, the LGBTQIA, especially trans. Okay, so it doesn't even mention any of these groups whatsoever. Committing suicide. None of this is in the book, not remotely.
There's no suicide. There's no
stuff out of
telling
nowhere.
people to die, or none of that is in the book at all. Like, not even close.
It's not even close. What? And these people down here who are playing this are just taking it like, oh man, this is a problem. Yeah, she's right. I can't believe this is such an issue. What are you doing? You might want to crack the book open. It takes like all of 45 seconds to read. It's not difficult.
Yeah. And then she says she's about to say this is a tweet from Matt Walsh. She's gonna quote unquote read a tweet from Matt Walsh, and to prove that he's anti-LGBT and wants them to die.
Morning at 8:04 a.m. I now have the #1 anti-LGBT book in the country. Any further criticism of me or my book is homophobic. Checkmate.
Okay, now that doesn't make any sense. If he's saying I have an anti-LGBT book, that means if you criticize me, you're homophobic. That sounds like what? That doesn't make any sense. Here's the actual tweet. I now have the number one LGBT book in the country. He said it's the number one book on LGBT issues in the country. So any further criticism of me or my book is now homophobic, which is just a brilliant troll by Matt Walsh. He is brilliant at the trolling. I absolutely love that. It's the
you can see his
Good.
Twitter handle is number one selling biologist or something along those lines,
Yeah.
because he has another book called What is a Woman, and I believe you've kind of referenced that whole question in previous shows, but so they categorize that as a biology book too, like you said, shadow ban it, not to not promote it as much, and it became the number one biology book on Amazon as well. So now he's number one women's study, woman number one biology, number one in LGBTQ. You know, the guy's number one in a lot of these things, and you really can't question that. How are you going to question that? Are you a biologist? I don't think you are.
Now, it's fair for them to call this book a book about LGBTQ plus, because it clearly has those undertones, and he did list it on Amazon as an LGBTQ plus book, right? However, it does not tell LGBTQ plus to commit suicide. It doesn't tell anyone to bully them, or it doesn't say they need to die or become not LGBTQ plus. All it says is you might call yourself and pretend that you're something that you're not, but you still are the thing that you are. It's a book that encourages children to be themselves. You remember when, like, the number one moral in every cartoon and every kid's movie and every movie, really, it was always like, man, just be yourself, dude. You know, hey, if you're going out on a date, you know, you'll do fine. Just be yourself. Girls want to, you know, whatever it is, just be yourself, man. Now it's like, no, become some sort of fictional thing that's actually physically impossible. And that's, you know, whatever you can do to not be yourself, that's the most admirable thing in the world. Don't be yourself. And here comes a book that says, be yourself. You can't not be in reality.
Yeah, right. It makes the distinction, right? So when I was a kid, there was, like you said, there was a lot of TV shows and, you know, movies and all that stuff. And one of the big things was use your imagination. And that's fine. That's great. Use your imagination. But now we're taking the next step and we're saying, use your imagination. Your imagination is real. You must force everyone else to play pretend with you all the time. Mm-hmm. If they don't want to use your imagination at the same time, they're wrong and you're right. This was never part of anybody's childhood, but now it's being thrust on everybody. That's kind of what the book is saying. Like, you can use your imagination. It's great to have an imagination to pretend to be whatever you want to be. But you have to delineate between that and reality. You have to know what is real and what is not at some point.
Yeah, this is so important because, I mean, just think about this. If this was real, and the doctor told this child, hey, we're going to cut off your feet and make them into fins because you believe you're a walrus, that would be very damaging to the child. The point is, not believing the truth about yourself and denying it can be very, very, very damaging to you. It is good that you accept and understand the truth. If you can't understand the truth about the rest of the world, you have to at least accept the truth about yourself. And being in denial about who you are is actually a very bad thing. Here's case in point. You know, as a parent, I am happy to see my children running around with capes. You know, they're not actual capes. They're just towels that they tie around their neck, and you know, they're Superman, right? They can fly. But if they get up to the top of my house and are about to jump off because they're Superman, they can fly, I'm going to say no. Because here's the thing. You're not Superman. You like to pretend that you're Superman, but you have to keep in mind that you're not actually Superman. You can actually fly. And, you know, it's fine for kids to pretend to be whatever they want to pretend to be. But they have to remember they're not actually those things, and that parents would go along with that. And it is actually hurting their children. It is child abuse. And I think it's also, there's a case to be made for it to be grooming, called grooming.
Yeah, that's your job as a parent. You know, the kids are still, you know, their brains are still developing. There's still some sort of blurred lines between reality and fantasy in their minds. You know, they don't know what's real all the time. They're growing that way, and they'll get that. And most of them are at least past the whole Johnny the Walrus thing, right? They know they're not an actual animal, and they're pretending, even if they want to pretend to be one. Um, but that's where the adult needs to be the adult and say, okay, that's great for pretending, but if you want to go a little bit farther, we need to stop there, because there are, like you said, long lasting and in some cases permanent damages that you're going to do if you pursue this, whether it's jumping off a building or having this gender surgery that you're not going to get this stuff back. That stuff will be gone forever. And once you grow up and you look back on your life and you say, man, why did my parents let me do that? There's going to be, we've yet to see that side of it. But I think that's coming down the road, and we are starting to see some of that.
Yeah, there already are stories. I can give you stories. I can give you people that I've even come across who've said, yeah, look, I can't believe that I did this. I ruined my life, and there's so much regret out there already. But besides all of that, even if you don't regret it, it's still wrong, because that's not who you are. And we now know that Amazon is part of the child abuse industry, and they want to support child abusers, parents who abuse their children, by taking down this book, which is against parents abusing their children. And that's frightening. They're also part of the shadow banning this whole thing, that we thought, oh, that's Google, that's YouTube, that's Facebook, that's Twitter, also Amazon. Here's another video from Amazon, one more video of their panicked meeting over the fact that Matt Walsh had the #1 book, and it was against their narrative.
Like preschool style book. And you saw in the customer contact how she was talking about Matt Walsh, the author, bragging about being the #1 LGBTQ author in the nation or in the world. And that's because, as you can see in the screenshot here, the book made it to #1 bestseller in LGBTQ books. And actually, I think it was #4 of all books for a day. It's bad faith. It's basically abuse of Amazon systems, and they're intentionally, when I say they, I mean like Matt Walsh and his publishing company and other people like him are taking advantage of Amazon and how the Amazon algorithms work to promote their particular brand of hate and harm on the community. And Chuck, do you want to talk about the other screenshot here?
So they're using they're using the Amazon algorithms to promote their particular form of hate on the community. Is there a hate in this book, Jonathan? I missed that.
Well, I don't see it, really anywhere. There's a lot of clarity.
I didn't see any hate.
What is this thing that he said? He says, they're taking advantage of Amazon. Are we supposed to start crying for one of the largest companies on the planet because somebody's taking advantage of our So you're saying that initially these algorithms are set up to stop conservatives and not let them succeed, but they got beaten, and so now you're going to cry about it. They're taking advantage of our algorithms. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Pretty much. That's exactly what they're saying.
Great.
Yeah. Let's continue on with this.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. No, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about anything.
Will you talk about it?
But yes, I will. So we have two screenshots here. The one, it shows where Johnny the Walrus was placed because of how they categorized it. And then the publicity that went behind it was #1 in LGBTQIA literature. And one of the things that I have to give the books teams credit for is that when we reached out and we were like, this is not where it belongs. And we showed them, and then the subsequent trolling that Matt Walsh was doing, they reclassified it into politics.
So basically, you shadow banned the book. You know, it is a book that you've already admitted is about LGBTQ plus issues. It's clearly a children's book. It's not. It doesn't call for hate. In fact, it calls for the opposite. It's saying the bad guys in here are calling people bigots. The bad guys in here are trying to hurt children. They've got a sword. A doctor has an instrument. He's going to cut into a child. Like, the bad guys are the ones who. I mean, none of this is promoting any kind of any of these things. But who is the person of hate? Who are the people that are promoting child abuse? It is Amazon. And Amazon's getting upset when Matt Walsh calls them out on it.
Right. So if it's not about LGBTQ, then what's their problem with the book? You know, if there's no analogy there, and if there is, and it's classified correctly, why are you trying to make it classified as something not LGBTQ? I don't understand. You got to choose one. And if you want kind of a taste of what's coming down the road with this whole new Ministry of Truth or whatever they're doing, this is it. You know, that is truth. He didn't do anything wrong. He classified it correctly, and they said, no, this is taking advantage. This is not truth, but it is, and that's where we're going. That's where we're heading.
Yeah. Not only is it classified correctly, it's tastefully done. It's true. You can't pick this apart and say, well, this is being dishonest. You can't pick apart the obvious point that he's making is clear and very, very obvious. He's making his point as painfully obvious as possible. And they can't go through and say, well, that's a bad point that's being made. Right? All they're going to say is, oh, he's mean. He's being mean. He's being a bully. That means we're winning. You know, when we're winning, the other side is say, oh, you're being bullies. You know, this is a good sign. This is a wonderful sign for our society. This is not the end of the culture war. It's just a step in the right direction. That this is the #1 selling book on Amazon. Amazon is panicking about it. And people are opening their eyes and saying, how did we get here? This is ridiculous. And let me just say as we wrap up here, now we have to point people towards where to go from here. Because people are waking up and saying, we're in the wrong place, we're going in the wrong direction. But people need to be pointed now back to the Bible, back to the scriptures, to see the right direction to go in. And this is our challenge. That's what Point of View is here to do. You're welcome. We're the next step in your journey. So, also, Point of View is brought to you by Right America Media Network, and you can promote Right America Media Network by going to MyPillow.com, purchasing anything you'd like, getting up to 60% off, and by using the promo code RAM, and you support shows like Point of View on Right America Media. We appreciate that, and we'll see you next time on Point of View.